Yes, a load center can be installed under an exterior deck, provided certain conditions are met. The National Electrical Code, Section 110.26 states that load centers must be installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Section 110.26 requires that load centers be accessible without removing any permanent part of the building. Section 110.26 allows load centers in unfinished basements and attics. Most load center manufacturers permit installation under decks or other outdoor locations if the following conditions are met. Firstly, the load center is enclosed in a weatherproof and tamper-resistant enclosure. Secondly, the enclosure is elevated at least 6 inches above the deck surface. And thirdly, the enclosure is accessible without using a ladder or other tools. There are additional considerations as well. Adequate ventilation is important to prevent overheating. Position the load center to prevent water from accumulating around or inside the enclosure, ensuring proper drainage. The load center must be easily accessible for future maintenance or repairs. Consider installing a small access panel in the deck for easy access. The 6.5-foot height requirement in National Electrical Code Section 110.26 typically does not apply to outdoor load centers installed under decks because the deck provides an elevated and accessible location that meets the intent of the code. It is important to reference the manufacturer's installation instructions for the specific load center being used, as these instructions may provide additional requirements or recommendations. Consider the ampacity of the conductors that will be feeding the subpanel. Use a conductor size that is sufficient for the calculated load, based on the National Electrical Code, Article 220. Remember to account for voltage drop, especially over long distances according to the National Electrical Code Section 215.2a. Grounding is essential for safety. Ensure proper grounding of the subpole and equipment according to National Electrical Code Article 250. Install a grounding electrode system, such as a ground rod or connection to a metal water pipe, if required by the National Electrical Code, Section 250.50. Use a ground bar within the subpanel to terminate grounding conductors. All circuits must have proper overcurrent protection. Install circuit breakers of the correct size for each circuit according to National Electrical Code Article 240. Ground fault circuit interrupter protection is required for certain circuits, particularly those serving outdoor receptacles or equipment, as per National Electrical Code Section 210.8. For circuits supplying the hot tub or jacuzzi, ground fault circuit interrupter protection is mandatory. Choose a suitable enclosure for the load center. Use the National Electrical Manufacturers Association 3R or 4X rated enclosure for outdoor installations to protect against rain, snow, and corrosion. Mount the enclosure securely to a stable structure. Ensure that all wiring connections are made properly and are tight. Use appropriate connectors and fittings for the type of wiring being used. Follow the National Electrical Code requirements for wire bending space within the enclosure as per National Electrical Code Section 312.6. Label all circuits clearly and accurately. Provide a circuit directory inside the panel to identify the load served by each breaker. Use a permanent marker or label maker to create clear and durable labels. Check local building codes and regulations, as they may have additional requirements beyond the National Electrical Code. Obtain the necessary permits and inspections before starting any electrical work. Schedule an inspection by a qualified electrical inspector to ensure that the installation complies with all applicable codes and regulations. Consider the environmental conditions when selecting materials and equipment. Use corrosion-resistant materials for all outdoor installations. Protect wiring and equipment from physical damage. Use conduit or other protective measures when necessary according to National Electrical Code Article 300. Maintain proper clearances around the load center. Ensure that there is adequate space for working on the equipment safely, as per National Electrical Code Section 110.26. Provide adequate lighting in the area around the load center for maintenance and repairs. Regularly inspect the load center and associated equipment for any signs of damage or deterioration. Replace any damaged or worn parts promptly. Keep the area around the load center clean and free of debris. Remove any vegetation or other obstructions that could interfere with access or ventilation. Consider the potential for future expansion when planning the installation. Choose a load center with sufficient capacity to accommodate future loads. Install conduit or raceways for future wiring runs. Follow all safety precautions when working with electricity. Turn off the power to the circuit before working on any electrical equipment. Use appropriate personal protective equipment, such as gloves and eye protection. If you are not qualified to perform electrical work, hire a licensed electrician. Incorrect or unsafe electrical installations can be dangerous and may violate local codes. Plan the layout carefully, considering the location of the hot tub, low voltage lighting, and other equipment. Minimize the length of wiring runs to reduce voltage drop and improve efficiency. Use the correct wire size for the ampacity of each circuit according to National Electrical Code Table 310.16. Consider the ambient temperature when selecting wire size, as higher temperatures can reduce the ampacity of conductors. Protect wiring from physical damage by routing it through conduit or other protective raceways. Use weatherproof fittings and connectors for all outdoor wiring. Properly support and secure all wiring to prevent strain on connections. Use cable ties or other approved methods to bundle and organize wiring. Ensure that all connections are tight and secure. Use a torque screwdriver to tighten connections to the manufacturer's specifications. Double-check all wiring connections before energizing the circuit. Test all circuits after installation to ensure that they are working properly. Use a multimeter to verify voltage and continuity. Use a circuit tester to verify proper grounding and polarity. Provide clear instructions to the homeowner on how to operate and maintain the electrical equipment. Explain the location of the main disconnect and circuit breakers. Show them how to reset a trip breaker. Advise them to contact a qualified electrician for any repairs or maintenance. Document the installation with photos or drawings. Keep a record of the wiring layout, circuit assignments, and equipment specifications. This documentation will be helpful for future maintenance or repairs. Consider the aesthetics of the installation. Choose a load center and enclosure that blend in with the surrounding environment. Conceal wiring in conduit where possible. Ensure that the installation is neat and professional looking. Follow all manufacturer's instructions for installation and operation. These instructions provide specific guidance for the equipment being used. If you have any questions or concerns, consult with a qualified electrician. Electrical work can be dangerous, and it is important to take all necessary precautions to ensure safety. Remember to bond any metallic parts of the deck or hot tub to the grounding system as per National Electrical Code Section 680.26 to minimize the risk of electric shock. Provide overcurrent protection for the low voltage lighting transformer, selecting a breaker size appropriate for the transformer's primary current rating. When installing ground fault circuit interrupter receptacles, ensure they are readily accessible and located in a convenient location for use. Use only listed and labeled equipment for all electrical installations, verifying that the equipment has been tested and approved by a recognized testing laboratory. Consider using a surge protective device to protect sensitive electronic equipment from voltage spikes and surges. Install the surge protective device in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. When running wiring underground, use stretch burial cable or conduit approved for underground use, burying it at the required depth as specified by the National Electrical Code. Backfill the trench carefully to avoid damaging the wiring. Install warning tape above the wiring to alert future excavators. When working with aluminum wiring, use connectors and terminals that are specifically designed for use with aluminum. Apply an antioxidant compound to the connections to prevent corrosion. Torque the connections to the manufacturer specifications. When installing a generator or other alternative power source, use a transfer switch to prevent backfeeding into the utility grid. Install the transfer switch in accordance with the National Electrical Code and local regulations. Coordinate the installation with the utility company to ensure that it complies with their requirements. Properly size the conductors for the low voltage lighting circuits, taking into account the voltage drop and the total load of the lighting fixtures. Use the National Electrical Code voltage drop formulas to calculate the required wire size. When installing low voltage lighting fixtures, follow the manufacturer's instructions for wiring and mounting. Ensure that the fixtures are securely attached to the deck or other supporting structure. Use weatherproof connectors and fittings for all outdoor lighting connections. Consider using a photocell or timer to control the low voltage lighting. This will automatically turn the lights on and off at dusk and dawn. When running wiring through walls or floors, use appropriate sleeves or grommets to protect the wiring from abrasion. Seal any openings around the wiring to prevent the entry of moisture or pests. Use fire-rated materials when running wiring through fire-rated walls or floors. When installing receptacles, use tamper-resistant receptacles in areas where children may be present. These receptacles have a built-in safety mechanism that prevents children from inserting objects into the slots. Consider using arc fault circuit interrupter breakers to protect against arc faults, which can cause fires. These breakers detect dangerous arcing conditions and trip the circuit to prevent a fire. Follow all applicable National Electrical Code requirements for arc fault circuit interrupter protection. When installing smoke detectors, follow the manufacturer's instructions for location and installation. Interconnect the smoke detectors so that if one detector sounds, all of the detectors will sound. Test the smoke detectors regularly to ensure that they are working properly. Consider installing carbon monoxide detectors to protect against carbon monoxide poisoning. Follow the manufacturer's instructions for location and installation. Test the carbon monoxide detectors regularly to ensure that they are working properly. When working on electrical equipment, always use insulated tools. This will help to protect you from electric shock. Inspect your tools regularly for any signs of damage or wear. Replace any damaged or worn tools immediately. Never work on electrical equipment when you are wet or standing in water. This greatly increases the risk of electric shock. If you are not comfortable working on electrical equipment, hire a qualified electrician. It is always better to be safe than sorry. Consider using a smart home system to control your electrical devices. This will allow you to turn lights on and off, adjust thermostats, and monitor energy usage from your smartphone or tablet. Install the smart home system in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. When installing a home theater system, follow the manufacturer's instructions for wiring and connecting the component. Use shielded cables to minimize interference and noise. Properly ground all of the components to prevent hum and other problems. When installing a security system, follow the manufacturer's instructions for wiring and connecting the sensors and alarms. Test the system regularly to ensure that it is working properly. Consider using a monitored security system to provide 24-hour protection. When installing a solar panel system, follow the manufacturer's instructions for wiring and connecting the panels and inverters. Use qualified installers to ensure that the system is installed correctly and safely. Obtain all necessary permits and inspections before installing the solar panel system. When installing a wind turbine, follow the manufacturer's instructions for installation and operation. Use qualified installers to ensure that the turbine is installed correctly and safely. Obtain all necessary permits and inspections before installing the wind turbine. Remember that local codes and ordinances may have specific requirements for electrical installations in your area. Always check with your local building department to ensure that you are in compliance. When in doubt, consult with a qualified electrician. They can provide expert advice and guidance on all aspects of electrical safety and installation. By following these guidelines, you can ensure that your electrical installations are safe, reliable, and in compliance with all applicable codes and regulations.